Boom. Guess who's welcome back to the All-Purpose Pod for an all-purpose like nigga Herb Dancing. Go ahead, baby. Bring it down, baby. Wherever you are and how
to get my morning started.
The Mr. Podcast. We thank you again for making us a part of your morning, your day, and your week. With your weekly mirror check before you change the world. What's going on, fellas? Good morning. Herb, Raj somewhere in the comment section tearing it down. Bo is back. What's going on, fellas? Good morning.
How you doing?
Are you going to stop the football news long enough for it to have a show, or do I need to be paying attention to updates the whole time?
I don't know how to advise on that. We'll just have fun like we always do. Is that all right?
Yes, sir.
Man, Bo was on assignment.
All NFL show right there. There's the backdrop.
Bo was on assignment last week out there on location.
Yep.
How was Maui, man? I want to hear. I probably will get mad by what you say, and her probably will too. But go ahead and share with us how Maui was. You want to hear how things were.
It was a lot of fun. Obviously, I was out there for my buddy's wedding. It was a buddy of mine that actually married us. So it was a ton of fun. It was this nice little spot on the beach, and then we were out on Maui, so I did go check out the Lahaina area that burned down, and the damage there is extensive. It's still that's the worst thing about our media is it's not a shiny new toy anymore, so you don't hear about it. But that entire area is still cordoned off. They're still removing debris. Like if you look up on the hill, it is just foundations and burned out cars and ash. Like that's all that's up there. So if you're watching the show, that area does need a ton of help still. I know there's a lot of charities out there. So if you have the ability to, that area could certainly still use funds, even though the news isn't reporting on it anymore. Just about everybody that lived in that area is displaced from their places.
Thank you for sharing that, sir. If you don't mind, if you get a chance, share that on your social, man, if you don't mind. And you can tag me and Herb and Raj in there too. We'd love to spread the word because I didn't even know that it was still going on. You kind of just assume, and media sucks in that regard because you think that if they're talking about it, it must not be news anymore. Yeah, that's not really. I'm sure California still got wildfire issues going on, but you don't hear about it because it's not the topic of discussion anymore. So
exactly,
please share that. But other than that, man, you had a really good trip, man. I know you had. I know you're a sunset chaser, man. So you saw probably some really nice ones out there, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm always sunset chasing. Doesn't matter where I am. I like pretty stuff. So, yep. Okay. Always chasing sunsets.
I like pretty stuff. It's a really cool T-shirt. You should do that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, man. Herb, how about you, brother? What's going on with you, man?
I did not go to a tropical island for the past week. So
no, you did not. Never did not.
Relaxing over the weekend, not being jealous at all. So
I'm moving now, so you can be jealous of that too. I'm moving in the rain.
Yeah,
nice idea. Rain is probably a waterfall next to. That's what it means.
I mean, the amount of rain the other day. It was a waterfall. It actually knocked trees down. Like it was good stuff.
Yeah, good work, bro. I love how you're trying to make this work, but it's not gonna work, man. Maui versus what we got going on. So yeah, you can just forget all. Yeah, it's not gonna work. No sir. But man, we had a lot of plans to start kicking into Major League Baseball. The season's gonna be starting on the 17th, I believe. Opening day. Pretty excited about. NFL draft is always a conversation. NFL free agency blew up literally overnight. I checked the news on Friday. I didn't see most of what I'm seeing right now. So in 2 days, in 48 hours, NFL free agency blew up. I don't know what you guys saw that kind of jumped at you. We'll try to grab all we can. If I miss anything, let me know. Because like I said, a lot of stuff happened. Start off with the Patriots. I'm trying to figure out what they're doing exactly. But a couple of things happened in New England. They re-signed Hunter Henry. who was on the Chargers. I was always a big fan of his. When he was healthy, I thought he had the potential to be a really, really great one. Maybe not as great as Antonio Gates, but I thought he'd be really good if he stayed healthy. That wasn't really happening for him during that part of his career. Now he's with the Patriots. He's been there for a little while. Got a new 3-year deal, about 3 years, $30 million. It's not breaking the bank or anything, but because of his injury issues, it was kind of a surprising move. So you know what? I'm going to invest 3 more years into him. So I'm not sure where you're at with that. Also, I heard this morning that Kendrick Bourne got a 3-year deal as well. I believe that was around what's the number?
3 million, something like that.
33 minutes, about 11 million a year.
Yeah.
In 2021, he was the second best wide receiver on the team. Last year he had a season-ending knee injury, I think it was. And I mean, I knew him from Shanahan's system in San Francisco. He was there for about 3 years, from 17 to 20. He was a utility guy. He was kind of what's the guy's name in San Francisco now? Oh man, I'm blanking on his name. Sorry about that, guys, but he reminded me of him. I thought he was good. I mean, but it's like these deals aren't big, but it's like, is this the direction you want to go in? Is this where you want to have your, the majority of your money going when you have the kind of money issue that you already have? So I'm not sure what the Pats are doing there. They also made another move that I think Herb was going to be able to chime in on here. They traded your boy Mac Jones, former Bama Crimson Tide quarterback, to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think a 6th-round pick, I think it was.
Yeah.
So he's fighting with C.J. Beathard, another former Niner, for the number 2 job behind Trevor Lawrence. Wow, and wow. So, what do you think, Herb? Do you think this is a good spot for Mac Jones, or do you think he just hanging on to his career by,
I mean, it's not going to help him to where like he wants to get a starting job the year after. It's never. Obviously, backup quarterback became a huge thing this past year, maybe more than any other year that we've seen. But it's never a good idea when you're like, the only way to prove I'm the starter is hope the guy in front of me gets hurt. Like that's not the way you want to approach the season. And he does need to rebuild his value, But I guess New England was kind of in a spot of, we're going to draft a quarterback. If we don't want to start them a year, do we still trot out Mac Jones, who clearly needs a change of scenery? So, I get the move, I guess, from that perspective, but Jacksonville didn't seem like the great. Now for Jacksonville, I mean, it's a great buy low move, a 6th-rounder to have a probably decent backup for a year and hopefully never have to use them. So I get it from their sense, but for Mac Jones, it's just like one step closer to not being in the league, I guess.
You're definitely selling the Mac Jones as a hype man there.
Yeah, I mean, kind of calm down all the enthusiasm. It's kind of a lot for this show. So, but Bo,
yeah, it's a good move as long as we don't have to use him.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at Trevor Lawrence versus Mac Jones right now, it's not really a fair fight,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Trevor Lawrence can get hurt. I mean, this is not impossible based on what we've been seeing recently. So that not out of the realm of possibility that Mac Jones could be on the field starting. But Bo, I want to ask you a question, man. Do you feel like just because that move was made that the Patriots are not going to get a quarterback in the draft? Is that automatic, or do you think they're still going to do it, or they're going to look otherwise for QB help? What do you think they're going to do from what you're seeing and hearing?
I think they draft somebody. I think they're in a good enough position to draft one of these guys. And to be fair, Mac Jones has a shot. So I was reading an interesting stat yesterday that Trevor Lawrence, in games that his defense doesn't get a turnover, right? They don't create a turnover. He's 1-18.
Yeesh.
Right?
Wow. This is professional?
So if you don't give him that one extra possession, he's done. He's like,
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a crazy stat. The other thing was during that was over the last 3 years, right? And the thing that was interesting about it is he was the only one that was had that kind of differential, right? Like most of them were much closer. There were a few of them that were off, but yeah, it was a weird stat. I was like, man, 1-18 when your defense can't get a turnover. The other thing about that is that means you went 19 games over the last 2 years without a turnover, which means your defense isn't the best. But but yeah, 1-18, crazy.
Interesting.
So Mac Jones may have a shot.
So How do you feel about what the Pats are doing? Do you? I mean, I know this is post Belichick era, so I know things are changing, and we got Gerard Mayo new regime coming in. Those moves, they weren't designed to be a splash. I'm sure. I get that. I mean, it's too early for that. But for the most part, this is the time we see those 1 year deals or 3 year deals. You see those now, but it's not the big splashes. But do you feel like they're going into a place where they're rebuilding, or do you think they're kind of just retooling and trying to make a run in the East? What do you think? From what you're seeing so far, what do you think?
Rebuilding.
Yeah, they're rebuilding. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think their timeline is good for a rebuild too. You know, if the Jets do get a year out of Aaron Rodgers, the Dolphins take a couple years, they get a little older. The Bills, like, how much longer can they sustain? So you take a couple years. A rebuild, actually, a 2 or 3 year rebuild, actually kind of fits the division's timeline, I think, because then when you expect those guys to maybe fall off a little bit in 3 years, if you're ready for then, yeah. But trying to compete next year, I just don't see that. So.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to do that. But I think about if you're going to draft a new quarterback like Bo was intimating that they're probably going to do, you're going to put him out there for the rebuild process.
Nah.
O-line situation, you're going to get beat up. I'm like,
that's why I was saying if they had kept Mac Jones, have trot him out for another year. I just don't think the new guy needs to start next year.
That's what I'm saying. So should the Pats draft a quarterback, or should they go ahead and get maybe a veteran guy to kind of be a stopgap until they get to the place where they're ready to start competing?
Both.
Yeah.
Both. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just don't. I mean, we're not saying pay like premium money for the veteran guy, but if you can find one on the cheap, tell Jimmy G, can he get through his 2-game suspension and then come out there or whatever? So.
Gosh.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing with Jimmy G, right? Because at that point, you've already started your rookie, right? But like if you went and got a Joe Flacco, right, who's got a dead arm, but hey, you're not murdering your rookie yet. But I mean, the Jimmy G thing is terrible because you'd be starting your rookie and then be like, just kidding. To warm that bench up for a guy that isn't going to make it. And so I don't know. Anytime you have a rookie and you start him and then pull him back out, like that is the biggest confidence killer. Like, you're so much better off to have your guy starting first, then bring that rookie in at whatever point makes sense. That, halfway through the season, or if the team's just struggling and you're out, or maybe they sit a whole year, doesn't matter. But anytime you're like, let's put the rookie in there, just kidding, let's get this veteran back in there, it's like that is terrible. Yeah, unless the guy gets hurt. I mean, obviously that can happen, but if you're just benching the guy, it's not generally the good way to go.
Not at all. The Denver Broncos made a move. They made a couple of moves. We'll talk about the second one in a little bit, but the first one that we heard about was they traded Jerry Jeudy. I heard it on the road driving. I didn't veer off of the road, but I was at that stop sign for a little bit longer than I should have been. Like, they traded him to the Cleveland Browns for a 5th and a 6th. I'm like, okay. I'm trying to find out where all them guys were, because this is back when in 2020 draft, people were attacking me, man. I was saying that CeeDee Lamb was the better of the two of them, and everybody in the world, it felt like it really was everybody. Might have been you guys too, attacking me saying that Jeudy was better, and I was an idiot for saying Lamb was better, and went on and on and on and on. And now here we are 4 years later, and one of these guys are getting traded for a 5th and a 6th, and the other one's having another 1,000-yard season. Those guys.
I kind of agreed I kind of agreed with Steve Smith when he was like, he's just a guy. Like, he's all right. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see it. I mean, I'm not an expert, but I know some football. I didn't see it, and they were on me hard. And now look where we at right now. I mean, it wasn't just because of their quarterback situation. There was some other stuff too. And it's like, so Steve Smith might have been right on it. But how you feel about that deal for the Browns? Did that take them to the next level? I mean, what with Watson, we don't know. I got some friends that are saying that Watson's going to come back and have a resurgence, and the Browns are going to hit the playoffs.
Been for 2 years.
I know, but I ain't trying to make nobody mad. But that's what they're saying. I don't really believe you, but that's what they're saying. But hey, it is what it is, man. But how you guys feel about the move on both sides for the Browns and the Broncos?
I mean, the Broncos are just shredding this thing, so which they have to. The way that they're going to eat the cap for Wilson, they got to get rid of guys anyway. So it makes sense for them to get whatever they can for their more expensive more expensive dudes.
Sure.
I feel like you heard about better deals for Judy though at the trade deadline than what they just traded him for. Like I feel like if they had traded him in the middle of the year, the value was better.
I think there was a few teams that were interested.
Yeah.
I think there was a few teams that were interested. I don't know what happened to them. If they changed their mind, if they saw something they didn't like. I don't know what happened there. But yeah, this was not where I thought he would go.
The team didn't look good down the stretch.
Right. So they basically tanked his own value.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't know if the Browns.
It doesn't move the needle for them.
It's hard to say that they got better with this.
Yeah.
I don't see it. I know Browns fans will be like, "What you talking about?" I'm sorry, guys. I just don't see this. I don't see that you got better because of this move. And in that quarterback situation, if you don't have that straight, it's really hard to have reliance on somebody who that person has to throw the ball to.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing. That's why I don't think it moves the needle, because we don't know what version of Deshaun Watson we're going to see, right?
Yeah. And that's really the problem.
Is he going to be that final game that he got hurt? Because he actually played well in that. Or is he going to be the 6 weeks before that where he wasn't very good? Or does he even stay on the field? Does he get hurt again? So, I mean, they have so many questions at the quarterback position that it really doesn't matter who you have at receiver. It's not going to move the needle a lot until you know what version Deshaun you're going to get.
Yeah, because are we not talking, is this like 4 years removed now from playing a whole season? Like when was the –
Yeah.
I mean –
yeah.
It's just getting worse.
And really –
I'm hoping it's going to get better because we can't – I don't know what worse looks like.
Well, I mean, if we're honest, he's 4 years away from playing good football. like forget the whole season. He's 4 years from playing good football.
Oh gosh, we'll have to come back to that. That's a rough one. The Texans, they retained Dalton Schultz. That's somebody who I don't know why it is because he was on the Cowboys. But I was a fan of his as far as talent and ability goes, not because of the Cowboys. Please don't get that twisted. I don't care nothing about that franchise. But I was really a fan of his. And they signed him for a 3-year, $36 million deal. I was happy about that. I said, you know what? Yeah. That's good for Stroud. That's actually a good deal. You can kind of see the difference in that versus him and Hunter Henry. You see the difference. I mean, I think Schultz had about over 1,000 yards. Or I don't know. This is just talking about Henry, but great deal by Texans and Schultz to get that deal. He's only 20. I think he's in his 20s as well. That's a really good spot. Stroud has a reliable guy to throw to there. I like that. How you guys feel about that deal? Did that kind of keep them moving forward? I think so, but what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it helps keep them moving forward, especially if they can now get a running back in there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's going to be interesting to do that.
Always nice to have a good tight end, I guess, for your rookie quarterback. So.
Yeah, I would advise they get that done through free agency and not per se through the draft, the running back situation, but we'll see how that goes.
Well, the thing about the running backs, man, nobody's even talking about drafting one, I guess, until second round at the earliest. So you can still pop in a third round draft pick, I think, and pick up another running back pretty easily, I would think.
Yeah, it's not looking great. It's not one of the strongest positions in the draft. Let me put it like that. Yeah. Oh, your boy Kevin Maye, man, got a job, Herb. Chicago picked him up for 2 years and $15 million. This guy, wait. What does that mean? You don't like him?
I mean, he was never my guy. I mean, I don't know. I was never a Bayern fan. I mean,
no.
I don't have his jersey sitting in
he was on a team that you like, right? I mean,
yeah, for long enough for a cup of coffee. We don't invite everybody over for dinner.
Yeah, but like an espresso is a small cup.
Yeah, it was very.
Congratulations to the Chicago Bears. Let's go ahead and move on.
Very small cup.
I got to move on. I have to now.
And no, what I started laughing about was the Wilson to Pittsburgh in the comments.
Oh yeah. I really acknowledge your boy because he was talking about saying, "Hey, what's up, Bo?" Like nobody else is on the show but Bo, but it's all good, man.
Well, it's that Monday thing. I'm doing that Monday
thing and the Bo show. So thank you for joining us. And yeah, we're talking about Russ in a second, man. But thanks for joining us, brother. Appreciate all the comments coming in through you. All right, so 35-year-old Russell Wilson, a year, $1.2 million in Pittsburgh. We heard the little rumors about it. It's not really a big surprise that the Steelers were the name that was out there the most
Yep.
But he came out to do a meeting with the Giants, which kind of made me nervous. had a buddy on Twitter talk about, yeah, man, you should get him. Like, what's in your cup right now?
Oh, I had popcorn ready.
That would make you think.
I was excited. It was going to be hilarious.
I'm sorry, I don't understand. What do you mean?
You're going to lose Saquon, pick up Russ, and have the same O-line. This is about to be a hilarious year.
Well, that didn't happen. So City Popcorn, hope it doesn't get stale. But
I'm just going to get to use that popcorn for the Steelers.
Yeah, we'll have something else for you to use your popcorn on for sure. But we got Pickett lost his starting job and basically playing behind Trubisky, who's signed with Buffalo recently, and Mason Rudolph, who's like not a name you think of. Like, is he still there?
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
You lost your job to those people, so that's not a good sign. So bringing in somebody else to kind of help keep you solid, I suppose, was the idea and the plan here. They're probably drafting a quarterback next year, if not this year. They're gonna be doing that because they have to. So I guess that's a good spot for the Steelers, I guess, for now, as a kind of a stopgap, because it's not looking like he's Wilson has a target or two to throw to. They're trying to trade Deontay Johnson. So if he doesn't get traded, you have some weapons to throw to. But
and a cheap deal, so it's not like they had to break the bank to get him over there, thanks to Denver.
It's not cheap for Denver. They're paying $38 million.
Yeah.
No, I think the biggest thing for the Steelers is the defense was good enough to win them games had they had competent quarterback play, right? So Wilson can still give you that. Like, it's not like he's trash, right? Like, he can still give you decent quarterback play. He's not going to go out there and light it up. He never did, right? Like, he's never putting up 400 plus yards a game. Like, that's not his style of play. But if the defense is good, he can still win you games. So I think the Steelers will be fine with him. They definitely get better than what they had. I mean, when Mason Rudolph is your number one, that doesn't inspire a lot of confidence, right? So you get Wilson in there. It's an upgrade for sure. They get him for cheap, and it allows them to take a look at who it is they want to draft moving forward. Because obviously, Pickett's not the guy.
Yeah, Herb.
No, I agree with that. That's why I said the $1 million to get him for a year. And like I said, there were people legitimately in the building that thought Mason Rudolph was the better answer than Pickett. So their quarterback current situation is terrible. So like I said, the defense is more win now, and they have some weapons offensively. They have put some capital into the offensive, backfield, wide receivers. So they are a little bit better position to win now than later. So, and I like the idea of, okay, let's, Russell wasn't out there for a year, see if he's got anything left, and we punt on picking a quarterback for another year. Maybe we can solidify some other stuff. So I don't think it's like we're not going to the Super Bowl for Pittsburgh, but
will they compete in this division?
Huh?
Will they compete in this division? That's what the
division is tough. You almost look at it, if you get a good quarterback play in Cleveland and Cincy, Burrow comes back, and of course Baltimore, like it's gonna be tough. So I almost feel like they're like, can we get a year and not have a losing season again to extend the record?
I think your best case scenario is a wild card.
Yeah.
I want to see him get a winning record out of this. Because second,
they got a winning record out of what they had.
Huh?
They had a winning record out of what they had last year. So
I know, but they squeaked, and we can go back and find those games. They squeaked some of that stuff, especially in the latter part of the season.
Squeaking is still a winning
I know,
record. Man,
but you can't keep doing that all the time, bro. You can't keep doing that. Okay, well, you're saying that Wilson is an upgrade. I'm sure he is over Pickett, so maybe that perhaps that happens. So Tomlin's streak will stay intact. All right. So Chris Jones, highest paid D-line. Well, that's what it sounded like you were doing.
No. I'm saying their best case scenario is a wild card. I'm not saying they're gonna have a winning season.
I can't even think that far.
Like
I can't think that's
their best case scenario is that.
Yeah, he's saying they're not going to win the division. Period.
Oh no,
100% they're not winning.
That's what he's saying.
I can't see that happening.
Right, and that's what he's saying. He's saying they're not going to win the division. So the best case scenario for next year is they get a wild card berth.
I don't even see that.
That's the ceiling.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Them guys back there. I mean, the Browns. and it had Flacco start. They still in a better spot than the Steelers are. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because they have a good defense. They have a good team. They just needed quarterback play to actually play.
Yeah, wild card's not happening. I'm sorry. Sorry, Chad. It's not happening, bro.
You know what would have been interesting just for Cleveland, just because it is the ultimate dumpster fire all the time anyway, is
popcorn worthy.
Oh man, this definitely would have been had they spent the $1 million and got Russ in the building. That would have been hilarious. Like that would have been some must-see TV for the sideline.
I don't even know what to do with that. It doesn't even match to me. That doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it doesn't. But it does seem like something the Browns would do.
Yeah, I'd tune in to see their games just to see what's going on.
They didn't even get the chance to make that happen. They didn't even get the chance. So that means that Wilson be throwing to Judy again.
Or Wilson would not be throwing to Judy again. That would probably be the
problem. Therein lies the rub. All right. So Chris Jones, highest paid D-line guy in history. 5 years, I think it's like $160 million. So the Chiefs keep their guy. I always talk about CJ Man because he's always a constant on that team. I think they are trying to tag. Well, they're not going to tag Snead, but they're going to try to get him a long-term deal back there in the secondary. But I don't have much of a comment on that, man. It's just good to see that he's getting his money and because he's earned it. He's done the great things back there. So I'm really excited about him staying there. So not a Chiefs fan, but I'm a fan of Chris Jones. Any thoughts on him before we move on to the other big stuff?
Well deserved.
I mean, it was a solid signing.
Yeah.
Copy that. All right, Bobby Wagner.
Yep.
183 tackles in 2023. Led the league. Did that 3 times in his career. He was in a 1 year, $5.5 million contract. Now he out here on the street.
Yep.
It's just what are you good with this? This is a Mike McDonald thing, clearly, but this
the thing is this defense was expensive and was bottom 5. So there's going to be wholesale changes. It is what it is. As we've watched, they're not doing huge changes to the offense. The offense worked, right? The offensive line got hurt, but when it was healthy, the offense could move down the field. The defense, on the other hand, was bottom 5 and has been for the last, 3-4 years. So as much as I don't like to see Bobby Wagner go away, you knew that a lot of moves like this were going to happen, especially for a team that had a lot of cap issues, right? So that's why you were seeing, like Jamal Adams going away made tons of sense because he was hurt. He really kind of underperformed and was expensive, right? But then they get rid of Quandre Diggs, who is a Pro Bowler, right? Multiple times. And, but unfortunately his cap hit was high. So they end up letting him go. So Bobby Wagner, because he's highly effective, you knew that he was going to be one of those guys that may not get re-signed because they had 22 free agents going into this offseason. And the only reason Lockett's still there is he restructured his deal, right? So his cap hit goes from 54 down to 30. So, I mean,
he had something to restructure. I mean, didn't Wagner have like a 1 year, $5 million deal? You can't restructure that.
Well, no. But what I'm saying is they're probably not bringing a lot of these guys back that are on these free agent or that are becoming free agents because it was a unit that underperformed and had underperformed for numerous years, right? Now, Bobby Wagner wasn't part of that one of the years, but he was for other ones. And I mean, I don't like to see it because he did lead the league in tackling, and that's because the rest of our defense didn't like to tackle. For whatever reason, they just would throw a shoulder and hope the guy fell over. So I don't like them getting rid of the guy that actually tackles. But that being said, if you're trying to redesign the defense, I mean, I get it. I don't love it, but I get it.
Okay, I think it's horrible. There's one guy that's I can say he's the face of the franchise, but my doggone, he might as well be pretty close to it. I mean, when you think about the Legion of Boom, I mean, you think about him, don't you? Some people think about Sherm, but I don't. I think about Bobby Wagner. That's who comes to mind. That's who I used to see make some of the biggest plays. It's like this is the guy that can be a mentor and teach these young guys you're going to bring in or whoever, and kind of maintain the Seahawks standards, not what was last year, but the standard before that.
Well, and some
defense.
of it may be because this is a whole new coaching regime, so maybe they don't want any of the Pete Carroll left over at that point.
Yeah, this is the Mike McDonald era. I'm seeing that come to play right now. I mean, they got rid of Diggs too. I'm like, they clean the house, but that's unfortunate.
That was money. That was solidly money because his cap hit, I think, was $14 million. So I mean, a lot of this
not breaking the bank either, but I hear you though. I hear you. I mean,
for safety, that's expensive, and they were paying big money for Jamal, right? They were going to be paying him. I think it was 20, something like that. So I mean, somebody could be giving
Xavier McKinney about $14 million. So it's like it's going to be the going rate.
Sure,
might as well have kept him. But wow, that's crazy.
Well, but the Seahawks were going into this offseason with I think it was like $1 million of cap space. So I mean, they had to make moves.
Yeah, I'm with you. I get that. Staying in the NFC West, the Niners cut Eric Armstead. I'll be honest, I'm shocked. Even though he's 30 years old, I know they're over the cap by about $200K, but I'm shocked by this. He was asked to take a pay cut. I think about $17 million. He said, that's not happening. I mean, and can you blame him? I mean, that man's been steady out there, 6'7" dude. He's been out there steady for a long time. You gonna try to get him to take the pay cut? Well, he out there. He's a free agent now, and I hope that he goes to a place where he's wanted. We'd love to have you, sir. New York, I know it's not sunny California with beaches, but it's nice. It got snow. Come play for us, and we'd love to have you.
I don't know if that's the pitch you want to make.
I can't pitch a Super Bowl because they just came out of one, so I can't pitch that. But I can pitch some snow. But anyway, any thoughts on Armstead? Would you guys like him for your team if he was available? Well, he is available now, so.
Say it again.
Nobody wants him?
He said, do you want him for your team?
Nobody? No takers?
No, I'm actually just really curious what it is Mike McDonald's doing, right? So I'm not even really necessarily playing the,
This is the Niners we're talking about, so this is Shanahan and his people.
No, I know. You just said for our team, right?
Yeah. Would you like him though, or is he too expensive because of what McDonald's doing?
He's definitely too expensive, but
alrighty.
But I mean, no, I'm actually just really curious what it is McDonald is trying to build on the defensive side, because really all I've seen so far is players go away. So
that's his forte, right? Wasn't that what he did with the Ravens?
Yeah.
He was a defensive guy, right? So
exactly, and that's why I'm interested to see what it is he's doing moving forward. Because, like I said, all we've done so far is have a fire sale, and I want to see what it is we're putting together. Because as it sits right now, we got some questions.
I got some questions. All right, let's move on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Okay, I'll let you guys have fun with this one, man. Your boy Baker. Oh man, I said your boy Baker because we've had many comments in discussions about Baker Mayfield on this show. He got a 3-year. They said $105 million, but I think it's closer to $115 million total. $50 million of it is guaranteed. He had career highs in passing yards and touchdowns last year, giving him props where it's due. They won the NFC South title, which is not really a prize because everybody was trying to give it away like a hot potato. So it's not really something I'm impressed about. But Mike Evans, I don't know. He was out there talking when he was kind of dangling out there waiting for a deal. Somebody want to go to a contender, a Super Bowl contender, blah 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 blah. All the talk, all the chatter. He stays with Tampa Bay for 2 years, $52 million. They're not Super Bowl contenders under any situation, any scenario. They're not that. So he backtracked and buckled for some strange reason. Not sure why. Antoine Winfield should be hanging around still and staying with the team. They get rid of Levante David and Devin White. They're on the street. Doubt that they're coming back. And Baker Mayfield stays with his guy, Mike Evans, for about $115 million in 3 more years. Thoughts?
I think the way the guaranteed money works, it's really a 2-year deal for Baker, and then I guess they can get out of it. So They're basically saying, Baker, Mike, y'all got 2 years to do something. But I mean, what's their ceiling again? Win the division? I mean, pick off one of the weaker teams, and win that one game. Yeah, I mean that's.
I don't know.
That's all you're paying for, and that's all they're playing for. So that's when I read it, I said, okay, you're all trying to win the division 2 more years, I guess.
All things being equal, I guess, is Baker's cheap enough that they can add some pieces, right? Like they do have the cap space to move some things around, and the team can get better. But at the end of the day, you're gonna go however far Baker will let you go. So.
Man.
And lately he's been like starting off good and wear out his welcome late. So halfway through this next year, I expect a number of picks and us talking about if they're going to cut him or something ridiculous. And there we go.
Yeah. So Baker.
Yep. Baker will do Baker things.
So nobody's shocked that he got $100 million. I think it was if it wasn't last week or the week before. I said, I'm hearing numbers about $100 million. I couldn't believe it. I was like, there's no way nobody's going to do that. I don't care who it is, right?
I think the chances of him getting that third year are like 10%. So that's when I saw the number, I had to read the deal.
Yeah, it won 15 million of it's just incentive based anyway, which he's mostly not going to get. So I mean, it's good on him, right? At least he's finally getting a shot because I mean he did get kind of. He did get kind of shafted along the way, so I like to see him, actually get a shot here. And who knows, maybe he can put something together there. But I mean, good on him, but I'm not expecting much.
Yeah,
copy that.
And if they don't win the division next year, then it's really this whole thing looks ridiculous.
See, the popcorn comes out.
Yeah,
I mean, here's my question before we say good morning to Raj: is Mike Evans going to be happy with that? For 2 years straight?
No.
I mean,
that's probably that's the ceiling for
his paychecks, and then but now he's 2 years older trying to get his payday after that. And you got to think if they don't win the division, his value is somehow going down. So his ability to get another good deal after this is not going to be great.
Yeah, Godwin hasn't been himself. I thought these guys were going to be studs out there. It's like after his injury, he was never the same again. I'm like, this is what you had now in Tampa Bay. So just like, ooh, and the defense is starting to decline. All the guys that have been old-headed for a while are their play is slipping. You can see it. Last year was a great example. It was slipping. Levante Davis did not look good. I'm not making a comment about them letting him go because there's no comment to be made. He needed to go. That's how bad things look. So this is what you're signing on for, Mike Evans. So just something to think about. Good morning, Raj. Dominating.
Hey.
How you doing, brother? Hope you're well out there, man. Another comment from Chad. I think it's Tebow again. I know George Pickens is happy. We got Wilson because he would get the ball more. Kenny is probably crying since he never threw the ball to Pickens. Okay.
I mean, Pickett is quickly finding his way out of the league the way that he's been playing. So
that's sad.
Yeah, I mean,
we're kicking him out earlier and earlier, quicker and quicker.
He just got here.
Yeah. And he didn't have the best offensive play calling, I guess, to start off either. So that
no. Exactly.
Yeah, point in his favor, but I mean,
that's right.
I don't want to put him out of the league. Yeah, I don't want to put him out of the league. That's like, man. I know some other guys need to go before he goes.
Yeah. So we're just gonna keep calling these the coffee guys. They come in for a cup of coffee. They don't get to stay for the main course.
Here's the question for you guys on this: who's your QB2? Do they keep Pickett or do they keep Rudolph? Because they liked Rudolph for some reason. I mean, I guess
Pickett is still cheap.
Face,
so if there's a chance I could trade Pickett though and get anything, I probably do, and just keep Mason Rudolph as a backup.
Do they have to? Yeah. Well, okay. Here's my question on that question. If they can keep all three, I'm pretty sure that Pickett would be the QB3 and Rudolph would be the QB2. But if they can't keep both of them, I think Herb's idea is stellar. Try to get something for Pickett with somebody that'll put him in as a backup in a better. I say better. No offense, Chad, but in a better situation than the one that he's in right now. Perhaps he can learn and grow from it. I mean, it's happened in a small degree with Drew Lock, didn't it? So it's like put him in a different situation, and he thrives in it and he improves. So
yeah,
there's a chance for that. I would trade him, like Herb said. I would trade him, get something for him. But all right. So before we get to Roger's question, which I think is a great question, Any thoughts about Fletcher Cox retiring from the Eagles?
No, I mean,
Yeah.
not really.
It's the Eagles, so I don't really care to spend too much time on it, something like whatever. But awesome player at all, man. He was consistent across the board, man. He was
fantastic career.
One of the few bright spots on the Eagles historically, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think a year like this last year, though, can also weigh on you and probably give you one step closer to saying, do I really want to put myself through this for one more year? Or if I'm already tired physically and then mentally you get worn out for a whole year by your team, you're probably thinking, you know what would I be coming back for? So kudos to him and his career for sure.
They got a lot of problems out there without question. All right, so let's jump into Roger's question real quick. Is it too early to call Mike Evans a first ballot Hall of Famer? I actually had that in my notes, but wasn't sure we were going to get to it today. But the question's on the floor, guys. And for those that listen to the show this morning, is Mike Evans a first ballot Hall of Famer, or is it too early to say so?
If he retired today, I don't think so.
Right.
Does he get in? Probably, but I don't think he'd be a first ballot.
I don't.
Which is interesting because that means like the next 2 years are kind of almost like a make or break, and you're banking on Baker Mayfield and the Bucks to help your candidacy more.
Bingo.
So
and
that is not a bet I would want to take.
Sir.
Yeah,
that's
not a bet I would want to take, but
right, that's like winning the lotto and then throwing it all on black and hoping.
Yes.
Good luck with that, guys. Yeah, I think the answer is no from all of us. Is that clear? Is that what we have?
Yeah, as it sits today, I don't think he's a first ballot. I do think he would end up getting in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't realize 1,000 yards in each of his first 10 seasons. So the only person to ever do that. So yeah,
absolutely.
Well, and I think he's
and he has a ring.
10th in yards, right? So I mean, it's not like he has bad numbers. I just don't think he'd be a first ballot.
Yeah.
No. And he has a ring too. So
yeah.
That's kind of one of the criteria too, right? So yeah, that's a done deal. All right, real quick about the Bills. Quick thoughts on this one. Is their window closed for a championship? If you listen to some of the chatter on the on Bills related shows and podcasts and just in the news media overall, people are kind of saying that the window is kind of closing. With Diggs, you don't know what's going to happen there, and even when he's there, it feels like it's not making enough of a difference to get him over. And now you're talking about Gabe Davis likely going somewhere else, unless they just pull out a surprise deal for him and Gabe takes it. He seems to be getting a lot of looks from other teams, including the Giants and a few others. Is the window closed on the Bills, being in line for a championship? They compete and make playoffs, but as far as the championship window, is it closed in your opinion?
It's getting there for sure.
Okay. Not there yet, though.
No,
they still have a shot. It's a longer shot than it was, but Josh Allen's dynamic enough. Like if he can get it together in the playoffs, they have a shot, right? Yeah. But that being said, they're not the team that they were. And Diggs is Diggs, right? It's not like this is something new. We've seen this before. Right. So it's unless that front office makes some really smart moves to help get this thing back online, are they out of it? No, but it's significantly harder today than it was last year.
Yeah. I think if they get the Diggs situation under control, get a reliable number 2, whether or not, Gabe Davis is there, but even if they draft, it's a good wide receiver draft as well. Get a reliable number 2 wide receiver that you can actually count on for decent stretches of time. You look at your, even at the AFC, Cincinnati maybe comes back up. Baltimore is good. KC, those are probably your 3 biggest rivals to make the Super Bowl out of the AFC. So as long as you can keep pace with that, I mean, you have a year, maybe 2, but Diggs, if this thing falls apart in the middle of next year, you can't count on making runs like you did last year. You can't continue to fall behind and then have to fight that hard just to make it at the end of the year. So something has to change. Offensive consistency would definitely help. So
okay. Yeah, well, it feels to me like that window is like it's not open. It's not really open. It's not even halfway open anymore. I mean, you can't keep coming to the world this many times and just kind of it feels like they just kind of just fizz out when they need to be consistent the most. And on top of that, to make matters worse, we talked about it all throughout the whole season. It's probably the most mercurial team that was out there. Up, down, every week, up, up. It's like you ain't winning like that. And Sean McDonough escapes responsibilities for this every time. I don't know how he does it. The Magic Man. That's the nickname on this show. That's the Magic Man. He escapes all responsibility. Somebody going up and down all the time. In any other sport, the coach gets fired. In this sport, he remains, and they let other people go instead. I'm like, it's amazing to me how this happens. It's like, so that's why I said this is not a guarantee. I'm never going to pick them for the AFC East. I don't think ever again. I don't think I wouldn't do it because all this up and down stuff you can't rely on it. You can't. If you're a betting person, you definitely can't bet. If you're a fantasy footballer, can't do it. I mean,
that division's going to be interesting.
Yeah. It's not. And if Aaron Rodgers come back the way you think he's going to come back, I mean, that puts them in the mix immediately. So them and the Dolphins are going to be right there. The Pats, no worries about that right now. But but the Bills could end up being the third best team in the entire division.
The thing that's funny is everybody's like, that team, the Jets are going to be amazing because Rodgers is going to be there. And it's like, you guys remember, like, he didn't have a good last year in Green Bay either, right? So I mean,
saying amazing because that's not
like we gotta pump the brakes a little bit. Do I think they're going to be good? Sure, but like I don't think they're going to be world beaters. I think we need to calm down a little bit on that. And then when it comes to the Dolphins, I mean, that was the first year that Tua stayed healthy. Let's see if you can do it 2 times in a row.
No, that division may have more question marks than maybe any other division as far as teams that you're like, this team could be a contender for the AFC Championship game or could just miss the playoffs completely. And like neither one of those would like completely, surprise me. And on the Bills point,
you can look at both of those scenarios and be like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, for both, I can make a case, except for obviously the Pats. For the other 3, I can make a case for both situations probably pretty easily. So, and the whole with the Bills, man, the thing that always bothers me is Josh Allen. It's like every year, like, oh, top 5 quarterback, and they've like accomplished nothing. You know what I mean? Since he's been there, and it's just like, are you satisfied with having all this talent and winning a playoff game like every other year? And
it's why I always liken him to Brett Favre, right? Like if you take his one championship out of it, he plays very similar, right? Like it's very reckless football. It'll win you a lot of games, but it'll lose you a lot of games.
Yeah. You're never surprised by a Josh Allen turnover, like ever.
Not at all.
You're just like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Well,
what was it, interception or fumble? Oh, okay. Both? Oh, wow. That's amazing.
No,
he dropped the ball, picked it up, threw it to the wrong team. Like, oh, okay.
No, it reminds me so much of the way Brett Favre used to play, right? Like he'd be running and then chuck it across his body because he had the arm strength. Yeah. He had the arm strength to do it. The problem is it just takes a long time for the ball to get there. Yeah. And Josh Allen does the same things. It's like, oh yeah, I could throw it away and make a smart move, and instead I chucked it across my body. And when it makes it, you're like, oh, that was amazing. But the rest of the time, you're just like, yeah, that's a pick all the time. Like every level of football, Pee-wee on, they're like, do not throw across your body across the field.
Yeah. And you'll look back at games and you're like, hey, if we make this throw, we have a great shot of winning. We make this throw, I mean, we could win, but you got a 5% chance to make it. You didn't make it. There you go. Yeah. So,
I'm not going to say the window's totally closed, but I just like,
it's going to be tough.
So much has to happen. So much has to happen for him to be the best in the entire AFC. So much stuff has to happen. And I feel like, do you trust Josh Allen, number 1? And do you trust the coaching staff, number 2? Or do you trust the talent they have on that team? Even at running back, we're not talking about that, but that's an issue too. I mean, James Cook had one good season where he went off. And everybody talked about that. Like, oh, wow, the Bills are back. Yeah, one good game like that.
If you have half the league quarterbacks getting hurt again, they got a shot.
They're not. I think that's
if they start off slow again, I feel like the Diggs thing is going to explode again, and that team, you could see them go downhill. So it'll be interesting, like the first 8 games for me for the Bills next year.
I got 3 things I want to talk to you all about. I've been holding this for a minute. All right, but I want to ask you about something else first and get your thoughts on that. But I got 3 things that I got to get into. All right. So in the NBA, did you guys hear about Rudy Gobert?
Yeah. Rudy Gobert.
Gobert. Thank you, sir. Wow. Okay, so we talked about Scott. What's his name? Scott.
And Rudy wasn't the first one to do that. Luka did it also. Oh, I'm sorry, Trae Young. Trae Young did it also.
Did Trae Young get fined?
Yes.
You did? For Scott Foster?
I don't know if it was Scott Foster, but it was for making the money sign at the refs, basically saying you're getting paid.
Maybe this is a Wednesday topic, and maybe not now. But I just think it's funny that with betting and everything now, all of a sudden Scott Foster and the referees are. It's like, what's the guy's name that was known for this?
Donahue.
Oh, man.
When the Donahue was that not
Donahue? Yeah, that was like, wow, here we go again. So now there's a question about this. I love that he just took the fine. You know what? I'm glad he took the fine and just said that. But some stuff was questionable. That game was rough.
Yeah,
it was roughly officiated. So like I said, this could be a Wednesday thing. I just want to get your thoughts on that. Do you have any thoughts about it specifically, or is it just like a funny story?
I've always said, if you were like, when people say, "Oh, this game is fixed," or and they try to point to the players, like some of these players make too much money for you to be thinking that's it. If you were going to fix games, you would approach referees
for sure.
To me, all day. And sometimes it's not even what we think. They're not pulling for a team. Sometimes it's an over/under. They're giving you more free throws, just to push the over all of a sudden. Or they're calling nothing because they're on the under. And it can be as simple as that. So, if I was going to fix a game, that's who you go after.
I mean, a check with 27 seconds left is like, it's not something that happens all the time. I mean, 27 seconds left in the whole game, under a minute? You call a check? I mean, I get why this is.
Yeah.
It's funny. Really funny. All right. Well, this one is I have a tight end question for you guys and a draft question. I've been kind of want to hear your thoughts on this one. The tight end one you might not be prepared for, so I apologize for that. But I want to talk about Airbnb. We've been having him on hold for about 3 weeks now. I'm going to talk about that move to UCLA. But most times when I bring his name up, we hear things regarding race around him, right? He doesn't get a job because of his race, and the Rooney Rule is illegit. It's not legitimate, and it doesn't really help players of color and coaches of color, that kind of thing.
It's funny though. I hear more about him just interviewing poorly than race being the main issue.
Yeah, but I feel like there's more to it than just that, and I didn't realize that until I dug a little deeper and found some stuff out in regards to what was going on with the Commanders specifically. The Chiefs did love him. He came back into the building at the end of last season, and people talk about they had goosebumps because he was back in the building talking to them and encouraging them, and they just loved him so much. It's a real dichotomy. They loved him so much, but with the Commanders, you had all these players that were top players on their team talking about bad communication, unwillingness to run the ball. They had to go beg assistant coaches to try to convince the enemy to run the ball more. When they did that, I got the numbers in here. So when they did run the ball, they had the 7th most yards per carry at 4.43 when they did run the ball. But he wouldn't do it. He was very resistant to doing that. And
now, did they have success because they ran it so infrequently people weren't ready for it?
I feel like they should have ran the ball a lot more than they did. They had the kind of talent that they should have utilized that. And of course, it's important for time management, ball control, etc. So that's something that they should have done. So that's probably a concern as well that the players are talking about. Then kind of Ron Rivera threw him under the bus in the press conference and then tried to backtrack on it. Talking about confusion on game days with offensive adjustments. It ain't just him interviewing poorly, which I did hear that as well. But I think he has a penchant for stubborn play calling, poor communication. He doesn't regard player feedback very well. There was one time where the players out there fighting for their own teammates, and he was like, rebuking them because he was doing it. I'm like, there's a lot of problems here that's not got nothing to do with no race or him interviewing poorly.
And I think to that original point, I never thought he was a race issue because he interviewed with so many teams that turned him down. Yeah. I was like, at some point it's you, man, and then you hear about all this other stuff. Even KC, it seemed like, I know they loved him when they came back in the building, but the last couple of years he was there, it definitely seemed like a disconnect between them at times. And, there was always like a who's really calling the plays thing. And I think a lot of times you get these offensive coordinators, I've said this about in the playoffs, they try to prove that they're smarter than everyone by drawing up great pass plays versus just boringly running the ball. So, no, I think in this one particular case, I would think this is more Bieniemy than Race or any of the, other stuff.
The race thing happened at the same time that lawsuit was going on with Brian Flores, and then there was some other coaches. I think Steve Wilkes was one of them, and there was another one whose name used to be on the Chargers. Vance, I'm blanking on his name, but there was a couple of coaches that were interviewing at the same time, and they were getting rejected too. Right. So people started putting two and two together and got fired. And so you know what? It must have been that. It must be because of race that they wouldn't get these jobs, and they were given to white head coaches. So that was all happening kind of in the same pot.
I think when it comes to Bieniemy, it's more of the your buddy that like dates a bunch of people, and there's like, oh, they're all crazy. It's like, yeah, I feel like there's a common denominator here, man. Like,
Yeah, I wouldn't lump him in with the rest of that. I'm not going to say it doesn't happen with the other cases, but I wouldn't use him as like, let's move this one forward to help this argument. Yeah, because it's definitely going to fail in that case.
No, I wouldn't do that either. I do want to hear your thoughts on it because I've been holding it for a little while. I wanted to see what you guys thought. I felt like you guys answered it the way I thought you would. So glad to hear that. It was a lot going on. If you look at the Commanders' numbers, look at their offensive scoring and efficiency, especially on third down, you'll see where they rank at.
Right.
Lower percentile in the league, 23rd and 24th, respectively. They got a lot of things that were going on, and he was a part of that. Wong Vera was too, but he was a big part of that. I want to jump into a quick NFL draft question, but let's say good morning to Back It Up Binge podcast.
Hey. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you, man? See, he's supposed to you and me too, Herb. Yeah. I'm just messing it out, man. Love you guys. No worries, man.
I feel so proud.
All right, Chad back in the building. Mac Jones is the new water boy for the Jets. Oh, come on, man. Yeah. Come on, Chad.
I will say this. A lot of people are going to be watching his sideline demeanor this next year. How does he handle himself in this position? And that will greatly impact what he's doing the year after.
Can they
He's better than that. He's better than Waterboy, man.
Can they go get Zach Wilson too? Can we just
oh my goodness.
Where's he going?
See them fighting over who's going to bring water out to
No, me.
It's fine. They'd fumble it anyway.
Yeah. Oh, actually, that's more Trevor Lawrence that'll fumble it. So you'll hand him the water and he'll probably drop it. So I think they'll get it to him.
That's a whole other story altogether. Oh man.
Yeah, I don't know where I don't know where Wilson would go.
Quick question before we get into the no, come on. And Jimmy G can get another job. I think Zach Wilson can get a job someplace, even if it's the same thing that Mac Jones is doing.
I don't know that his value could be any lower right now. I mean, not even just being benched, but there are reports about him not wanting to go back in the game or not being ready to get in. I mean, it could not have ended any worse for him.
That's
exactly.
That's a different story.
Plus, he just has a sideline issue, right? Like an attitude problem that, like, if you're going to have an attitude problem, you can't also be bad.
Right.
If you're really good and you have an attitude problem, people will take a flyer on you and be like, maybe we can change him. But if you're not good and you have an attitude problem, you're going to find your way out of the league.
Oh man. Well, that's he gonna get a job somewhere. There's no way he's not getting a job someplace in there. Come on now.
Like
even with all of his bad stuff,
the CFL, McDonald's, I don't know. Like
you got guys that had it much worse, in my opinion, or as bad, and they got a job.
Yeah, so I think we're talking a little bit different though, because at this point the NFL is, if you weren't good last year, you might not be in the league. For people they like.
Yeah.
It feels like as we move along, they're moving you out quicker. So I think that's the thing. And
we'll see. So jump into the draft real quick, and I'm going to ask you a question about tight ends after this. But with the NFL draft, has your mind changed about the placement of the quarterbacks since the last time we were on air? Do you feel like something has changed with the number? Well, before, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we asked you guys, where'd you rank the quarterbacks? By name and by number. Has that changed since the last time we talked? Because there's so much talk going on about these guys, and they're moving kind of rapidly in different places now. Now we're seeing a rise of now we're seeing Penix back in the conversation again. before it was like, we thought he was going to be around an early second round pick, like what we thought. All of a sudden now he's back in the first round, and now they're talking about, the Giants could be taking him there. I'm like, what happened? What changed? I don't know what took place. McCarthy, he was supposed to be somewhere around the lower mid to low. Well, I guess mid first round is more accurate. And now all of a sudden he's potentially at a where up in the top 3, top 5. I'm like, what changed? I mean, these guys wouldn't do too much combine work. So what was changing? So what's your thoughts on that? Anything changed for you guys about McCarthy and Penix specifically, or Daniels?
So I feel like go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, good.
I feel like before where I had it 3 and 3,
Where?
now it's almost like 2. Yeah. So I mentioned this last week in order. I had Williams, Maye, Daniels, McCarthy, Penix, Nix. I feel like it used to be 3 and 3, but now you're reading way more about a McCarthy push to where you've got Williams and Maye are definitely going 1 and 2, right? Uh-huh. Your next pick is going to be between McCarthy or Daniels, and then Penix and Nix are like that third group. So I don't think you're getting past mid second round, like you said, with Penix and Nix, but the range for those two is pretty high. But there's a big push. You see a lot of mock drafts now that have New England taking McCarthy. So he has kind of moved into that second group. I don't think he's jumping into the top 2, but he's pushing Daniels for sure.
Now, it's funny because I think at this point the news has been slow enough, which is why you're hearing stuff like this, because everybody's put out 500 mock drafts already and they're just running out of stuff to say. So it's just changing narratives. And realistically, I think these guys are more or less going to be where we thought they were going to be. I mean, it's not, you might see Nix go ahead of Penix or, vice versa. I mean, like most of these guys are pretty close. You're going to see Caleb Williams go first. I don't think him not going, doing anything at the combine or not taking the physical. I don't think any of that's really going to hurt.
Agreed.
I do think he was trying to manipulate his way out of potentially not going to the Bears. But
I mean, if they keep the pick, right? I mean, if they don't keep the pick, I mean, there's a chance that can change then. Anything can happen then. I mean, so I don't know. I'm not buying all of the noise and chatter that I'm hearing, but it's very strange. Even with the Penix one, it's very strange. All of a sudden, his name is rising. Like, what changed? What transpired? The McCarthy one, it's always been up and down since this whole thing started.
Right.
Since he declared, I heard his name from 3 to 6 to 12. I've seen it up and down. I even heard second round for him. I heard all kinds of stuff for them. But Penix, that was like one of the very few moves that I've heard. I heard him early second round. The majority of the time, all of a sudden, he's in the top 10. Like, so in your opinion, nothing happened to cause that to happen? It just
I don't see Penix going in the top 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the last half of the draft is going to do their work on him and see. I think to the point you're making, yeah.
Yeah, I think Penix will end up being a mid to late first rounder.
Yeah.
Okay. We got Rod with a comment. Why don't you all invite Zach Wilson on the show? I'm sure he's got free time. He's not he's sitting around watching film. We're gonna take into account, Raj. First off, we love you, number one, just so you clear on that part. We love you, man. You're family to us. Just be clear. But on top of that, you're a Dolphins fan, so you know that this comment can't go but so far, brother. This is Dolphins AFC East hate right here. Okay, come on, man.
That is 100%. If he did make it on the show, he probably wouldn't hang out real long.
The question I asked him, he's gonna hate my questions.
That's what I'm saying. I think he'd just be like,
I have a few.
Bad connection. Bye.
Yeah.
I have a few questions that he wouldn't particularly like.
I wouldn't beat him up too much because it's already as bad as it's going to get for him.
No, it's not. It's not.
Be like, hey,
no.
What do you do in your free time?
It's going to be hard, man. I mean, what you mentioned a little while ago about him not wanting to be ready to get into a game.
Yeah.
You got to ask that stuff, and he ain't going to want to answer.
No, I'd ask him some pickleball questions, man. Say,
no, you would not.
I'm only going to get him the one time, so you might as well ask what you're there to ask.
Chad says Zach Wilson, maybe Broncos or the XFL.
So same thing.
Well, there is no XFL, the UFL. Okay, but I'm with you. That's definitely a factor. The Broncos,
same quality team. UFL Broncos going to be the same thing.
I hope not, man. I don't think the defense is that bad. I mean, the UFL don't have no defense. I wouldn't go that far. But all right, I always wondered how NFL interviews go. This is from Raj. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. Do they ask you if you have any special skills, or do they want to know your hobbies? How does that work?
Yes, Raj. That's exactly what they ask. They ask you to sing, maybe a little dance, stuff like that.
Raj, you're
curious if you like football.
Yeah.
you like candy?
Yes.
Skittles?
If you have Derrick Henry and it's 4th and goal from the 1, what's your play call? Stuff like that.
Right.
If you say shotgun, they don't leave you the job.
Oh, brother, that's funny. But okay, so I want to ask you a question about the tight ends. Not panicking or anything, but it's clear that tight end is probably the worst position in the NFL draft this season for sure. After Brock Bowers, the drop off is Grand Canyon-ish. Okay, for real. I'm not sure when another one's gonna be picked in the draft after the early first or top 10. After that, Dalton Schultz, we talked about it earlier, he got signed with the Texans, which was very smart on their behalf. So they got to go into this horrible pool that's out here. Signed him for 3 years, $36 million. The Pats grabbed Hunter Henry. Trust me, when I said earlier that was kind of weird. It was a point to that because they understood what the market was looking like for tight end. That's why they grabbed him so quick. You know, now you're sitting here with guys like Mike Gesicki, no offense, Gerald Everett, and Noah Fant. Those are your big names. Did you guys see anybody else out there that was like a free agent that you would be interested in having? Because it feels like the market is slim. It's like, what are these guys going to do? That these teams that need tight ends, what are they going to do? Who's out there that they can pick?
Yeah, it's funny because we're also going to have a tight end issue because they haven't signed Noah Fant back, right? They just released Will Dissly.
Yeah, I see that.
Oh, I used to like him.
He's a great tight end. I feel like he doesn't get the recognition he deserves because he's probably one of the most sure-handed guys out there. But yeah, I mean, you know, as it sits right now, because of cap casualties, you are looking at a Hawks team that isn't going to have a tight end on the roster here in a minute. So it's a little bit interesting to. I thought they got rid of Dissly in hopes to sign Fant, but we haven't seen him do that yet. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing.
Who's on the other side of the field at tight end? They do 2 tight end sets still, right?
Well, I mean, last year, because the O-line was hurt, they ran a lot of 3 tight end sets because there's no offensive line.
So who's the tight end? Who's the other one?
All of the tight ends are free agents. The only one that is actually on the roster is, and it's not even really on the roster, is it's a future contract for Tyler Mabry, and that just means he's going to be on the 90-man roster, right? That means he finished the season on the practice squad. So that's not exactly, you know, something you're fired up about.
Yeah.
Wow.
I always thought Gesicki was a good receiving tight end for the Dolphins. I just don't think that year in New England helped him at all, which was always a curious pick, you know, of places to go if you're going to be a free agent. So I think that just kind of tanked his value. I think their problem was he wasn't that great of a blocker, but you always saw him making the good catches. So
he was not. Matter of fact, he didn't seem to be to care much for doing that.
Right.
Are there any names? Just anybody that's like any hope for teams like Bo that need to find a tight end? Is there anything out there besides those names? Gerald Everett, I don't believe his name is even still floating around. Gerald Everett, because he's still.
Yeah, I see him on the list, but it's not like necessarily ranked. You know, like you said, Logan Thomas is out there, but he's already 32 as well. So,
so he's not under contract with the Commanders anymore.
Correct.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that. Okay. Rod says I was okay with us picking up John Smith. Forgot that was another free. I mean, I know I was gonna miss somebody in free agency. There was so many names that were dropping. I knew I missed that one. You guys picked up John Smith. Just hope Tua utilizes him well.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much movement. This free agency period is going to be kind of fun to watch.
Yeah.
I'm having fun today for sure. This is getting great. I want to end today's show with you, Herb.
No.
This is not like that.
No pressure.
No, not at all. I'm not nervous.
We talked about it. We talked about
fine.
it.
Everything's
fine. Everything is fine.
I like it.
Well, yeah, this is all you, brother, to close us out, because I want to get your thoughts on this, and I think you're the best person on this panel to discuss.
I agree with his comments then.
Yeah, absolutely. But we talked about well, let's just stay on topic. So Saban and his retirement, right? There was definitely an impact on college football that is still kind of ripping right now. He mentioned a lot of things that I thought were pretty concerning, and that could be the reasons why he decided to do what he did. And Rod, you can jump in the comment section and share as well. But I'm gonna just read some of the things that he was talking about. He was talking to several of the players. I think he said around 70-80% of them, when he talked to them, all they want to know is two things. One, what assurances do I have I'm going to play? Because I'm thinking about transferring. Or how much are you going to pay me? And he talked about how the program was built on creating a future for your family and your personal development, academic success, and graduating, that kind of stuff, and having a viable NFL career on the field. He said,
if you go to slide 7, it'll.
Huh?
The thing I just shared with you.
Oh, okay.
If you go to slide 7, it'll actually highlight what it is you're talking about.
Copy that. I use it. All right. And he's also saying that he's kind of got weary of the churn in the assistant coaches every year. He felt like his age played a part in some of that stuff. I'm not sure that's true or not, but I want to hear your thoughts there. And he's also talking about how the aspirations for the college players has changed. The NIL is a part that he intimated about, how it kind of seems like it's just more related to money. He's not saying it's a bad thing, but he was just saying that, it's not why they had the success that they've had all these years. And now it's kind of, and also the last thing he mentioned was that he always felt like he had a relationship with the players. And now he feels as though he didn't really have that. It was kind of just, you guys are just passing through. He wasn't really connecting with them. It made me just think about, what's happening with college football. I know that we talked about Eric Bieniemy going to UCLA. He went there from the NFL. But you got college coaches like Harbaugh that's coming over to the NFL. And then you got Rick Martindale going back to college. Seems to be a lot of back and forth. But how do you feel about the Saban retirement, the impact on the game, and if it means anything about college football coaches in general, maybe not wanting to stay in college because of what the culture is becoming?
Yeah, Raj and I have been talking about it for years. Saban's never really liked the way NIL is. And I think to his point, instead of you re-entering a college with a 3-year plan, I mean, you got to stay 3 years anyway. I think these kids are now going with a 1-year plan and sometimes a 6-month plan. And they're just like, let me see what I can get this year and where can I get next year? And there's plenty of reports now of kids being offered from other schools. I mean, if it's essentially tampering in the middle of the year. So I don't even think these kids are committed to, and it's obviously a broad statement. You do have some guys who are clearly leaders who understand, I'm going to this university. I've got a great chance of going to the NFL. I don't have to play this year. Like I know we're talking men and it didn't end up well, but Mac Jones sat, for like 3 years before going out there. Guys like Najee Harris and Devontae Smith stayed all 4 years. So it works. But I think the majority of them now are, hey, if this team will pay me $2 million this year and I have a decent year, that team will pay me $3 million next year. I'm trying to get as much as I can. And then, if I still go to the NFL, that's great. But I feel like they're approaching it year by year. I don't think you've ever seen something like this where you're in the middle of the season, you're recruiting high school kids, you're recruiting other teams' players, and you're recruiting your own players. Like imagine that after a loss, instead of just having to encourage a guy, we'll get it back next game, you also have to encourage him, hey, please stick with us, through this. That's just crazy. And if you're not even one of the big guys, because Alabama and Georgia, they're losing like 20 guys a year to the transfer.
Well, right? And I mean, when you think about, you're not going to get the start this week, cool, I'm just going to hop in the transfer portal then.
Right.
Like, it's a crazy environment. And it's one of the reasons why I thought maybe Chip Kelly, I mean, he was probably going to get fired at UCLA anyway, but, going to be that offensive coordinator for Ohio State, it's like, yeah, I mean, some of it could just be you don't want to have to do all the recruiting that's now required. I mean, that has to take so much focus at this point to your point, recruit high school kids, recruit other schools, recruit your own kids. Yeah. Like I mean, all of a sudden your ability to just coach isn't even your front and center thing anymore.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. There's teams that have had to come up with a whole division now to scout other teams' players and not scout them like you used to. Oh, here's a scouting report. Here's a team we're playing against. Now you've got a division that's scouting. Hey, this is a position we might be weak in. Who do we think's in the transfer portal? Who's going to get in the transfer portal? And who should we go after? Like, it's crazy to think of, And I think that's why people are, I understand the NFL that you have its own things, but in the middle of the year, if you've got a good GM, the coach is just concerned about his players. And you're like, hey, this guy's signed a 3-year contract. I don't have to beg him to stay here. He's going to be here next year. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, it's just totally the free agency movement, which is what it is in college football, is unprecedented. So, I can see it.
I think it's the lack of structure of it that makes it so hard.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like if you had transfer portal options now, cool. Right? Whatever. Ahead of the spring games, awesome, right? The fact that there's one after the spring games and then there's one in like the first part of the season, like as a coach, you're now recruiting that same guy, to get him there. Then It's like, okay, well, we didn't perform well during spring games, so stick with us. Like we'll be better for the regular season. You can be a couple weeks into the season and they'd still bounce. I mean, that is such a unrealistic expectation to build continuity, right? So that's something that the NCAA has to try and figure out, because they kind of rolled these things out and just were like, I hope it works, right? Instead of having some structure to it. So unfortunately, they've already let the cat out of the bag. It's gonna be real tough to kind of stuff that thing back in there, but they need to find some sort of structure to kind of limit this a little bit, because as it sits now, you're going to watch the quality of the game disappear because kids can move around too easily. Not that I don't think they should be able to move, but during the season doesn't seem like a good idea.
Yeah. And to your point on that one, imagine, the spring game used to just be kind of like a little exhibition, get some good, in live action. Now you're thinking, how much time do I got to play this guy? How much time do I got to play this guy? Like that shouldn't be a spring practice thing. But now, because I remember last year, after our spring game, we sat and held our breath for a week to see if all our quarterbacks were staying on the roster. It's just crazy. And I think we publicize the best stories, but there's a lot of bad stories about guys who transfer and just, get lost in the mix, don't get what they want. Guys
don't hear
transfer, 5 or 6 times. I think JT Daniels ended up on like 6 different teams. It's like, we don't talk about that enough. So kids like I said, they think, where's my next payday coming from? That just doesn't set you up for anything else in life,
Yeah. It makes you wonder how much they've actually grown where they needed to as a football player to be ready to go into the NFL and be drafted potentially. It's
it's that part. How do GMs look at that?
Would you draft somebody who bounced around to 6 different teams and never really showed anything on the field that you have a nice sizable game tape on? Because I don't know if I would feel comfortable with that. I mean, you end up being UDFA, man.
Yeah,
that's what will end up happening to you. So that's crazy, man. That's just really crazy. We got another free agent. I love free agency, man. You know what? If we could talk NFL 12 months out of the year, I think we would do it. I'm gonna tell you right now in advance, if you listen to our show, we're gonna try to find some way to talk about NFL for 12 months. If we can make it happen, somewhere in the conversation, in our hour and whatever, and we're on this show every week, we're gonna talk about the NFL somewhere, even when the season is so-called quote unquote over. But this is one of the best times free agency. T. Higgins, wide receiver that was franchise tagged by the Bengals just of course of the trade. I'm like, yes. I've been waiting for this. I mean, we're going to get him, but I've been wanting this for a little while. So I'm like, if we can make this happen, if we can do this, we going in the right direction as far as the development of our offense. So I would love to see him come to the Giants. I know that the Seahawks probably want the same thing. That he helps your team, he helps Herb's team, helps Rodgers' team. Everybody gets help from somebody like this. This is a bona fide number 1 wide receiver, man. So hopefully that happens and he gets traded because he doesn't want to be there, clearly. And to be honest, I don't know. I can't blame him. I mean, you guys were talking since March 2023 was the last time you guys were talking about a deal. And what month is this? March of what year? It's been a whole year, and y'all haven't said a word. I'm talking about radio silence. I don't blame him for wanting to get out of there. So hopefully he finds a good spot. But man, before we close out, we've been talking about this. I guess it's okay for us to share about it right now. We don't have a definition yet, but we're talking about doing our own. Can I say Twitter space or X space? What's protocol here? Can I
I just call it Spaces.
Yes,
Spaces. Okay, all right. Twitter, X, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Elon Musk's Playhouse, whatever. I mean, sorry. So we got Spaces coming up. We're gonna be doing our own space, which is that I'm excited about that because we get to talk about some stuff that we may not talk about in detail here. We can really flesh it out for that hour, and I have to bounce around between too many different topics. So give us a chance to kind of bed down some stuff and hear from you guys, because we get some comments from you guys on our social media platforms, especially on Facebook and Twitter. But we get a chance to hear from you guys more directly, hear you guys' voices, get a chance to meet you guys. So we're excited about that. And that date's going to be coming up hopefully pretty soon. We'll drop that detail once we have it. And you get to hear Herb and Rogers, in Football Talk with Bo in an actual Twitter space. So we're excited about that, man. But any thoughts on this, guys? You excited as I am, or what?
Yeah, man, it's going to be fun.
If you're a 10, I'm like a 9.9. So I'm right below you.
I am a 10. I'm really excited about this. I really am. Raj, are you excited, Raj?
Raj says yes. He's shaking his head yes. No, I think space will be a lot of fun, man. I think they're utilized a lot on Twitter, so I think it'll be a lot of fun.
All right, well, we got to promote it well, man. Keep that train going, man. But gosh, this was an awesome show, guys. I don't want it to end. It was so much fun. But wherever you are and have you listened to the Call Me Mr. You, the podcast, thank you once again for making us a part of your morning, your day, and your week. We're your weekly mirror check before you change the world. Herb and Raj podcast. Raj _ Herb. Sorry, excuse me. And Football Talk with Bo, at Football Talk with Bo. Of course, at They Call Me Mr. You. You can find us on Monday mornings, 9 a.m. EST, and on the Wednesday wrap-up at 9 a.m. EST. And also the Herb and Raj podcast every Tuesday evening at 9 p.m. EST.
That Tuesday thing.
That's Tuesday right. Thing, that Monday thing, and now that Wednesday thing. We just want to know the week, man. You can't touch us. Let's get Thursday and Friday to take it all. Have a great day, guys. Thank you again so much. All you guys tuning in for the first time and return listeners and guests. Coach out. Have a good day.